With AEW soon expected to outbid WWE for talent and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for February 12th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. For the Jake Asman show, Drew McIntyre talked about his time as WWE Champion during the pandemic, where he mentioned that fans thanked him for carrying the company. These days, now that we can walk down the street, it's pretty cool. It's mostly thank you for the period when obviously the world had shut down and every sport and entertainment company had went down. And WWE gave the world an escape with some original content, and I was WWE Champion at the time. I was kind of the face of WWE during that time, and it's amazing. Sometimes they'll do these virtual Q&As for sometimes in person now, where people can ask any question they want, and usually they took the time to thank myself and WWE and WWE superstars for that time period and giving them that escape. So that's really cool. In that same interview, McIntyre talked about his thoughts before going into a bar fight like encounter with Brock Lesnar at the Empty Performance Center prior to their WrestleMania 36 bout. For me, it really felt like I was in a bar fight with Lesnar, an empty bar with a ring in it, kind of similar to a street fight, if you will. If you could have read my mind, I remember thinking, don't try any funny business, Brock, or I'll drop you where you stand. And I actually believe that, honest to God, which is insane to think, but that's how I felt in that moment. Now, McIntyre is set to face Madcap Moss in a Falls Count Anywhere match at Elimination Chamber next week. With him under WWE contract and close to finishing up his collegiate commitments, Gable Steveson looks like he could become the next big star in pro wrestling. The Olympic gold medalist sat down with KTSP to make it clear that he wants to go to UFC after he's done with WWE. I think my time has come in amateur wrestling, such as collegiate and Olympic stuff. My time is coming to an end. I am made for something different, and that's WWE for right now. And who knows, maybe 10 years from now, fighting in the UFC or something like that. Given their laid-back attitudes and love for cannabis, Matt Riddle has been compared to the likes of Rob Van Dam. Speaking about this to Sportskeeda, RVD said he understood why people saw similarities between them. I like Matt, he's a good guy, and I can see the influence and why people would say that. The style that I used to do was fought against by The Office a lot, and now people flip over the top rope to the floor so much that it's not really as exciting. I think it's harder to stand out nowadays, especially when you're trying to stand out with your moves. Matt has his own unique style of MMA that he brings. I used to wrestle barefoot when I started out too also. But yeah, he's definitely a character that everyone is going to remember. With RVD previously stating he is open to working with Riddle, we'll have to see if that day ever comes. With two big AEW debuts in the form of Keith Lee and Jay White taking place on Dynamite, Tony Khan noted with Sports Illustrated that fans will be seeing more of the New Japan star. Expect to see more Jay White in AEW. He came through the Forbidden Door, and there were many reasons his arrival transpired the way it did on Dynamite. That wasn't finalized until Sunday, and I'm so happy that we could bring that excitement to the fans. I wanted to have that Forbidden Door element to our show. It was intentional to have that moment backstage, reuniting members of the Bullet Club against their old rivals from Chaos and Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta. While he's been signed to WWE since 2013, Chad Gable has never had a proper WrestleMania match on the main show, as he talked about this on After the Bell. As it is with any superstar in WWE, your goal is to have that moment at WrestleMania, to get your match, and I've never come close to that. Not only have I not come close, there's been years where I haven't even been on, and that was last year, and that was the year before. I still treat it like I would a big amateur wrestling tournament, like WrestleMania is our big one. I get myself ready, I'll get in better shape, I'll mentally prepare better because it's our big event. Following her release from WWE in November, Ember Moon is back on the independent scene as Athena, with her recently talking to High Spots, revealing she finds enjoyment in watching bad wrestling. Not the only one they should probably see. See, here's the thing. I find enjoyment out of like bad wrestling, because I've been there, and I feel like if you show someone wrestling, it either has to be a super crazy hardcore match or Ricochet versus Ospreay or something like that's so crazy that they get sucked in that they stick around to see more, right? Like, I don't know. I would probably start with Ricochet versus Ospreay, then I would go to some backyard wrestling, you know, just to show them all avenues of what was going on. I used to watch all the time, and then I met Freight Train, and he was the nicest person in the world, and I was like, I don't think I can watch $5 wrestling anymore because he's just so sweet. With previous reports of WWE looking into a world title match between Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, former WWE referee Mike Chioda noted on his podcast that he'd like to see Randy have another run as champion. I heard some rumors they were going to push Randy Orton and put him over on the Rumble, and somehow that changed. Of course, it did change. At one point, I don't know, but I'd like to see Randy get a push. He deserves it to get back at that WWE title. The guy's phenomenal, a hell of a worker, and has done a ton of matches. I don't know why. I'd like to see Randy get that extra push. He's been with Riddle, trying to build up Riddle, but I don't know. They probably thought Riddle wasn't ready yet. To put Randy in that spotlight, I would have loved that match because you just saw Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Talking about his time in WWE on his podcast, Matt Hardy revealed that he wished a match with Roman Reigns took place prior to his departure. I definitely would have loved to compete against Roman Reigns when I was in WWE. I like Roman quite a lot as a performer, and I really like him as a human being. We always got along good, and he is just a real cool person and such a hard worker. He's so smooth, he's so handsome, he's so charismatic, and he really does have an amazing package. The stuff he's doing currently with him and the Usos, I mean, I can't put that over enough. It is my favorite thing on WWE TV, and he is absolutely killing it. Matt Hardy would also continue teasing his brother Jeff's arrival to AEW, with him noting that Jeff's no-compete clause runs until March 9th, so as of March 10th, he will be free to do whatever, and then he can negotiate with somebody or work for another big company that is television, whatever it may be. Do I think Jeff Hardy could end up coming to AEW and teaming with Matt Hardy again? As they say in the wrestling business, never say never. Anything's possible. We're definitely going to be working together, and we'll see if the planets align and get the opportunity to become the greatest team in all of space and time once more. While AEW is not going toe-to-toe in an all-out bidding war with WWE, Dave Meltzer revealed on Wrestling Observer Radio that we could be seeing this in the future. After Danielson, I don't even know who there you could really get, because I just don't see like the few top guys that they have there. I mean, Owens was the perfect case. Owens got such a big contract that AEW didn't want to match it. They basically told him, in 3 years, call us again. In 3 years, they're hoping that they've got the $100 million, $200 million TV contract. Then they can offer you a $3 billion a year type of thing and compete for those guys. Right now, when WWE throws it for a guy like Owens, you know, in most cases, if they have a family, they're going to stay. Danielson is a very unique person. It's not so motivated by money, more motivated by, you know, fun, I think is his motivating thing, and also the ability to work New Japan. So his situation is completely different. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, those are guys who weren't making big WWE money, so their situation's different. Roman Reigns is never going to move. Brock Lesnar's never going to move. They may make some cuts of people that are really good that can help AEW, like Keith Lee, and CM Punk was a unique situation and he helped them a lot. All those new guys, all at once, all helped. In 6 months, if they stay even and WWE continues to drop, they're going to win every week. Talking to Beckles and Retro, AEW President Tony Khan reflected on the main event match between CM Punk and MJF, where he started saying this about MJF. He's a jerk, but he's definitely one of the best pro wrestlers in the world right now. He picked up a big win over CM Punk, and that is what's great about AEW, you know? You never know what's going to happen. We'll match up some of the best young wrestlers today, the wrestlers of today and the future like MJF, and the wrestlers of long-time history and today. You know, whether it's CM Punk, without MJF, he was undefeated until that point. point. He wrestled a big mix of the top young wrestlers like Darby Allin and Daniel Garcia, and veterans like Eddie Kingston and Matt Sydal and Bobby Fish. So I think you'll see a great mix of the veterans and the young wrestlers, and the free agents, and the Forbidden Door. It's a great recipe, and the best thing about it is it's all because of the fans and listening to you and the fans and what you want to see. Khan also touched on bringing in Jay White. On Dynamite, on TBS, on Wednesdays, and on Rampage on TNT, you continuously see wrestlers from outside AEW come in, whether it's in action or getting involved in the matches. And it's a lot of big names, you know. You mentioned Jay White. He showed up on Wednesday Night Dynamite on that huge show, and you never know when he's going to show up. On the Wrestling for the Faith podcast, former WWE star Jaxson Ryker talked about his tweet supportive of Donald Trump that led to his faction, the Forgotten Sons, being pulled from television. He said, "You know, I wasn't one of those who was trying to bash anybody else. I was simply putting out my support for a president that I thought was doing a good job for this country. Gas prices were down, unemployment was down, jobs were up. So much going on that the economy was flourishing. You can do the studies and look at it. And that was just my tweet to basically show my support," which the funny thing is, prior to that, Lord, I mean, even I was looking through some history of things. I mean, I would tweet or Instagram certain things about Donald Trump, but for some reason that day, and I believe you touched on it before we started, some things that were going on in America at the time, I tweeted my support for him before. So to me, there was nothing wrong with that tweet. There was no racial undertone. There were no jabs. There was nothing but me saying God bless America and thankful for the president that we had at the time. And like I said, I served 4 years in the Marine Corps from 02 to 06. Does that give me a right to be an idiot on social media and go out and say stupid stuff? Absolutely not. But does it give me a right to support a president that I voted for? I do believe it was. And look, we've never talked about it. First time right here, people getting a chance to hear about it. I'm excited to kind of let it out, but I could see if there was something wrong with that tweet, but in my eyes, I said nothing wrong. So that's where I stand on it, man. Regarding the backlash he received, Ryker noted that, "I'm sitting on my couch and within a matter of, I'm gonna say 15 minutes, my phone starts to just blow up. I start to get random calls from random numbers. I'm like, what's going on?" And my wife goes, what's going on with your phone? I mean, literally, it's like the end of the world has happened. Within a matter of an hour or so, I'm getting death threats. I'm getting cell phone calls. If I can number the amount of voicemails that came over my phone from that time it happened for at least a good week. Well over 100 voicemails and people threatening my family, my address, within a matter of an hour or so was tweeted out. My new address. People were saying they were gonna come burn down my house. People said they were gonna come murder my family. Dude, it was the most extreme thing I've ever been through, to the point of the old Chad back in his 20s wanting to come out, you know what I mean? There was certain, quote-unquote, friends who would text me or call me, and one of them who I respect, and still do, and worked with him many times, he told me he was disappointed, and I called him, and I said, "Why are you disappointed in me?" I said, "This is my views, like I said anything wrong," and he was just like, "I just expected more from you." And I'm like, because I don't support who you support. You know, that's what you're talking about here, dude. It's like these cancel culture folks, and you see it in Hollywood all the time. You know, certain actors getting canceled because somebody they support or things they stand for, whether it be anti-abortion or whatever. But these same ones who were screaming, you know, my body, my choice, like, oh, I can go murder a baby. They're the same ones over here going, oh, you need to get this vaccine or you need to do this. So what are we doing here? We're just dividing the country, man. And we've seen that over the past few years. Former WWE star Toni Storm is one of the hottest free agents in wrestling today. With many wondering what her next move will be, she took to Instagram to ask fans if she should start an OnlyFans account, not to be confused with OnlyFans. Of course, many of her fans would be confused by this, as they're now starting to get the joke. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.